Nobiin, or Mahars, is a northern Nubian language of the Nilo-Saharan phylum. Nobiin is the genitive form of Nubi, Nubian, and literally means, of the Nubians. Another term used is Noban, meaning, the Nubian language. At least 2,500 years ago, the first Nubian speakers migrated into the Nile Valley from the southwest. Old Nubian is thought to be ancestral to Nobiin, the latter of which is a tonal language with contrastive vowel and consonant length. The basic word order is subject, object, verb. Nobiin is currently spoken along the banks of the Nile River in southern Egypt and northern Sudan by approximately 495,000 Nubians. Present-day Nobiin speakers are almost universally bilingual in local varieties of Arabic. Generally speaking, Standard Arabic as well as Sydo-Egyptian Arabic or Sudanese Arabic. Many Nobiin-speaking Nubians were forced to relocate in 1963–1964 to make room for the construction of the Aswan High Dam at Aswan, Egypt, and for the upstream Lake Nasser. There is no standardized orthography for Nobiin. It has been written in both Latinized and Arabic scripts. Also, recently there have been efforts to revive the Old Nubian alphabet. This article adopts the Latin orthography used in the only published grammar of Nobiin, Roland Werner's Grammatic des Nobiin, Geography and Demography. Before the construction of the Aswan Dam, speakers of Nobiin lived in the Nile Valley between the Third Cataract in the south and Corisco in the north. About 60% of the territory of Nubia was destroyed or rendered unfit for habitation as a result of the construction of the dam and the creation of Lake Nasser. At least half of the Nubian population was forcibly resettled. Nowadays, Nobiin speakers live in the following areas: near Kom, Egypt, about 40 kilometers north of Aswan, where new housing was provided by the Egyptian government for approximately 50,000 Nubians, in New Haifa in the Kassala state of Sudan, where housing and work was provided by the Sudanese government for Nubians from the inundated areas around Wadi Haifa, in the northern state of Sudan, northwards from Bergag to the Egyptian border at Wadi Haifa. Additionally, many Nubians have moved to large cities like Cairo and Khartoum. In recent years, some of the resettled Nubians have returned to their traditional territories around Abu Simbel and Wadi Haifa. Practically all speakers of Nobiin are bilingual in Egyptian Arabic or Sudanese Arabic. For the men, this was noted as early as 1819 by the traveller Johann Ludwig Burckhardt in his travels to Nubia. The forced resettlement in the second half of the 20th century also brought more Nubians, especially women and children, into daily contact with Arabic. Chief factors in this development include increased mobility, changes in social patterns such as women going more often to the market to sell their own products, and easy access to Arabic newspapers. In urban areas, many Nubian women go to school and are fluent in Arabic. They usually address their children in Arabic, reserving Nobiin for their husband. In response to concerns about a possible language shift to Arabic, Werner notes a very positive language attitude. Rushdie, however, notes that use of Nobiin is confined mainly to the domestic circle, as Arabic is the dominant language in trade, education, and public life. Sociolinguistically, the situation may be described as one of stable bilingualism. The dominant language, although used widely, does not easily replace the minority language since the latter is tightly connected to the Nubian identity. Nobiin has been called Mahars, Fayadija, and Fayadika in the past. Mahars and Fayadija are geographical terms which correspond to two dialectal variants of Nobiin. The differences between these two dialects are negligible, and some have argued that there is no evidence of a dialectal distinction at all. Nobiin should not be confused with the Arabic-based Creole Ki Nubi. History. Nobiin is one of the few African languages to have a written history that can be followed over the course of more than a millennium. Old Nubian, preserved in a sizable collection of mainly early Christian manuscripts and documented in detail by Gerald M. Brown, is considered ancestral to Nobiin. Many manuscripts have been unearthed in the Nile Valley, mainly between the First and Fifth Cataracts, testifying to a firm Nubian presence in the area during the first millennium. A dialect cluster related to Nobiin, Kenzi-Dongolawi, is found in the same area. The Nile Nubian languages were the languages of the Christian Nubian kingdoms. The other Nubian languages are found hundreds of kilometers to the southwest, in Darfur and in the Nuba Mountains of Kurdistan. For a long time, it was assumed that the Nubian peoples dispersed from the Nile Valley to the south, probably at the time of the downfall of the Christian kingdoms. However, comparative lexicostatistic research in the second half of the 20th century has shown that the spread must have been in the opposite direction. Greenberg calculated that a split between Hill Nubian and the two Nile Nubian languages occurred at least 2,500 years ago. This is corroborated by the fact that the oral tradition of the Shaykhia tribe of the Jali group of Arabized Nile Nubians tells of coming from the southwest long ago. The speakers of Nobiin are thought to have come to the area before the speakers of the related Kenzi-Dongolawi languages. Since the 7th century, Nobiin has been challenged by Arabic. The economic and cultural influence of Egypt over the region was considerable, and, over the centuries, the Egyptian dialect of Arabic spread south. Areas like Al-Maris became almost fully Arabized. The conversion of Nubia to Islam after the fall of the Christian kingdoms further enhanced the Arabization process. In what is today Sudan, Sudanese Arabic became the main vernacular of the Kingdom of Sennar, with Nobiin becoming a minority tongue. In Egypt, the Nobiin speakers were also part of a largely Arabic-speaking state, but Egyptian control over the south was limited. With the Ottoman conquest of the region in the 16th century, official support for Arabization largely ended, as the Turkish and Circassian governments in Cairo sometimes saw Nobiin speakers as a useful ally. However, as Arabic remained a language of high importance in Sudan and especially Egypt, Nobiin continued to be under pressure, and its use became largely confined to Nubian homes. Classification. Nobiin is one of the about 11 Nubian languages. It has traditionally been grouped with the Kenzi-Dongolawi cluster, mainly based on the geographic proximity of the two. The uniformity of this Nile Nubian branch was first called into doubt by Thelwell, who argued, based on lexicostatistical evidence, that Nobiin must have split off from the other Nubian languages earlier than Kenzi-Dongolawi. In Thelwell's classification, Nobiin forms a northern branch on its own, whereas Kenzi-Dongolawi is considered part of Central Nubian, along with Burgd and the Hill Nubian languages. In recent times, research by Marianne Beach-House-Gerst has shed more light on the relations between Nobiin and Kenzi-Dongolawi. The groups have been separated so long that they do not share a common identity. Additionally, they differ in their traditions about their origins. Nobiin appears to have had a strong influence on Kenzi-Dongolawi, as evidenced by similarities between the phoneme inventories as well as the occurrence of numerous borrowed grammatical morphemes. This has led him to suggest that Kenzi-Dongolawi in fact is a hybrid language between Old Nobiin and pre-contact Dongolawi. Evidence of the reverse influence is much rarer, although there are some late loans in Nobiin which are thought to come from Kenzi-Dongolawi. The Nubian languages are part of the Eastern Sudanic branch of Nilo-Saharan. On the basis of a comparison with 17 other Eastern Sudanic languages, Thelwell considers Nubian to be most closely related to Tama, a member of the Taman group, with an average lexical similarity of just 22.2%. Sounds. Nobiin has open and closed syllables. Ag, mouth, ear, qt, woman, gii, uncle, cam, camel, diis, blood. Every syllable bears a tone. Long consonants are only found in intervocalic position, whereas long vowels can occur in initial, medial, and final position. Phonotactically, there might be a weak relationship between the occurrence of consonant and vowel length. Forms like daryl, climb, and daryl, be present, are found, but *daryl and *daryl do not exist. Similarly, fe acute yyir, grow, and feir, lose, occur, but not feir and fe acute yyir. Vowels. Nobiin has a 5-vowel system. The vowels, e, and o, can be realized close or more open. Vowels can be long or short, e.g., jarkey, fear, jacker, fish hook. However, many nouns are unstable with regard to vowel length, thus ballet, feast, ig, fire, shati, spear. Diphthongs are interpreted as sequences of vowels and the glides, with them, j. Consonants. Consonant length is contrastive in Nobiin, e.g., doorway, path versus dowie, kitchen. Like vowel length, consonant length is not very stable. Long consonants tend to be shortened in many cases. The phoneme p has a somewhat marginal status as it only occurs as a result of certain morphophonological processes. The voiced plosive b is mainly in contrast with f. Originally, z only occurred as an allophone of per second, before voiced consonants. However, through the influx of loanwords from Arabic it has acquired phonemic status. Azabi, pain. The glottal fricative h occurs as an allophone of per second, t, k, f, g, and it has been termed consonant switching by Werner. Only in very few words, if any, does h have independent phonemical status. Werner lists issa, voice, and hunger, braying. But it might be noted that the latter example is less convincing because of its probably onomatopoeic nature. The alveolar liquids, L and R, are in free variation as in many African languages. The approximant, with is a voice labial velar. Tone. Nobiin is a tonal language, in which tone is used to mark lexical contrasts. Tone also figures heavily in derivational morphology. Nobiin has 2 underlying tones, high and low. A falling tone occurs in certain contexts. This tone can in general be analyzed as arising from a high and a low tone together. Array, settlement, nur, shadow. In Nobiin, every utterance ends in a low tone. This is one of the clearest signs of the occurrence of a boundary tone, realized as a low tone on the last syllable of any prepausal word. The examples below show how the surface tone of the high-tone verb okia, cook, depends on the position of the verb. In the first sentence, the verb is not final and thus it is realized as high. In the second sentence, the verb is at the end of the utterance, resulting in a low tone on the last syllable. Itiakara. Does she cook the vegetables? Itiakaroka. Yes, she cooks the vegetables. Tone plays an important role in several derivational processes. The most common situation involves the loss of the original tone pattern of the derivational base and the subsequent assignment of low tone, along with the affixation of a morpheme or word bringing its own tonal pattern. For a long time, the Nile-Nubian languages were thought to be non-tonal. Early analyses employed terms like stress or accent to describe the phenomenon now recognized as a tone system. Karl Meinhof reported that only remnants of a tone system could be found in the Nubian languages. He based this conclusion not only on his own data, but also on the observation that Old Nubian had been written without tonal marking. Based on accounts like Meinhof's, Nobiin was considered a toneless language for the first half of the 20th century. The statements of de facto authorities like Meinhof, Westermann, and Ward heavily affected the next 3 decades of linguistic theorizing about stress and tone in Nobiin. As late as 1968, Herman Bell was the first scholar to develop an account of tone in Nobiin, although his analysis was still hampered by the occasional confusion of accent and tone. He is credited by Roland Werner as being the first to recognize that Nobiin is a genuinely tonal language, and the first to lay down some elementary tonal rules. Grammar. Pronouns. The basic personal pronouns of Nobiin are: there are 3 sets of possessive pronouns. One of them is transparently derived from the set of personal pronouns plus a connexive suffix -in. Another set is less clearly related to the simple personal pronouns. All possessive pronouns of this set bear a high tone. The third set is derived from the second set by appending the nominalizing suffix -ni. Nobiin has 2 demonstrative pronouns: in, this, denoting things nearby, and man, that, denoting things farther away. Both can function as the subject or the object in a sentence. In the latter case they take the object marker guy, yielding inga and manga, respectively. The demonstrative pronoun always precedes the nouns it refers to. In it der bard weaker kunkino, this man has a hen. Mam buru naa weiler, who is that girl? Nouns. Nouns in Nobiin are predominantly disyllabic, although monosyllabic and 3 or 4 syllabic nouns are also found. Nouns can be derived from adjectives, verbs, or other nouns by appending various suffixes. In plural formation, the tone of a noun becomes low and one of the 4 plural markers is suffixed. 2 of these are low in tone, while the other 2 have a high tone. Fe acute nti fenchi, dates, ncii, are acute acute arenci, falls, rii, adam mardam re, men, people, guu, cursi gu, chairs. In most cases it is not predictable which plural suffix a noun will take. Furthermore, many nouns can take different suffixes, e.g., ag, mouth, agii, agrii. However, nouns that have finally acute usually take plural too, whereas disyllabic low-high nouns typically take plural 1. Gender is expressed lexically, occasionally by use of a suffix, but more often with a different noun altogether, or, in the case of animals, by use of a separate nominal element on d, masculine, or kare, feminine. Id, man, versus ide acute n, woman. Tud, boy, versus buru, girl. Kai kare, shiases versus kai nondi, donkey. The pair male-slave-female slave forms an interesting exception, showing gender marking through different endings of the lexeme. Oshai, slave versus Oshar, slave. An old Nubian equivalent which does not seem to show the gender is Oshonaregu, slaves. The plural suffix go has a modern equivalent in guu. In compound nouns composed of 2 nouns, the tone of the first noun becomes low while the appended noun keeps its own tonal pattern. Kadiaza, cat, plus mora, wild. Kadiaza mora, wild cat. Ikiri, guest, plus noog, house. Iskirian noog, guest room. Togoj, sling, plus kid, stone. Togoj, kid, sling, stone. Many compounds are found in 2 forms, one more lexicalized than the other. Thus, it is common to find both the coordinated noun phrase Hahamaman, the water of the river, and the compound noun Bahamaman, river water, distinguished by their tonal pattern. Verbs. Verbal morphology in Nobiin is subject to numerous morphophonological processes, including syllable contraction, vowel elision, and assimilation of all sorts and directions. A distinction needs to be made between the verbal base and the morphemes that follow. The majority of verbal bases in Nobiin end in a consonant. Notable exceptions are juu, go, and nii, drink. Verbal bases are mono or disyllabic. The verbal base carries one of 3 or 4 tonal patterns. The main verb carries person, number, tense, and aspect information. I fajr kasalia, I pray the morning prayer. Only rarely do verbal bases occur without appended morphemes. One such case is the use of the verb juu, go, in a serial verb-like construction. Arij weaker fajuu jania, I'm going to buy a piece of meat. Syntax: the basic word order in a Nobiin sentence is subject, object, verb. Objects are marked by an object suffix ga, often assimilating to the final consonant of the word. In a sentence containing both an indirect and a direct object, the object marker is suffixed to both. Wga kabi, the camel eats corn. Ayaka in Katarapatia, I give you this book. Questions can be constructed in various ways in Nobiin. Constituent questions are formed by use of a set of verbal suffixes in conjunction with question words. Simple interrogative utterances are formed by use of another set of verbal suffixes. Some of the suffixes are similar. Possible ambiguities are resolved by the context. Some examples: Minaman to Ilani. What lives in water? Hidonil Miri. Where does the Nile flow? Ir Sabuanga Jana. Do you have soap? Sabuanga Jana. Do you sell soap? Does he, she sell soap? Qt Aragru. Party.at dance. Pres 1/2 place Q2. Do you dance at the party? Writing system. Old Nubian, considered ancestral to Nobiin, was written in an uncial variety of the Greek alphabet, extended with 3 Coptic letters, sh, h, and j, and 3 unique to Nubian, ny, and w, apparently derived from Meroitic, and eng, thought to be a ligature of 2 Greek gammas. There are 3 currently active proposals for the script of Nobiin: the Arabic script, the Latin script, and the Old Nubian alphabet. Since the 1950s, Latin has been used by 4 authors, Arabic by 2, and Old Nubian by 1, in the publication of various books of proverbs, dictionaries, and textbooks. For Arabic, the extended ISESCO system may be used to indicate vowels and consonants not found in Arabic itself.